The emergency lights flashed red across the massive assembly hall. Every seat was filled with representatives from over 200 civilizations. The air felt thick with worry and fear. At the center platform, Tovan stood tall on his four legs, his reptilian face showing deep concern. He had lived for 400 years and had never seen the Council this scared. "The Void Rift has consumed another star system," Tovan announced. His voice echoed through the hall. "That makes 17 systems lost in the past decade. Our projections show that if we cannot stop it, 40% of the galaxy will be gone in 200 years. A hologram appeared above the platform. It showed a massive black tear in space, slowly growing larger. The tear seemed to eat everything around it, stars, planets, even light itself. The image made everyone in the hall go quiet. Mira, the insectoid scientist, clicked her mandibles nervously. She had studied the rift for 30 years. "We have tried everything," she said, her multiple eyes dim with exhaustion. "Quantum containment fields, dimensional anchors, temporal barriers, nothing works. The rift ignores every law of physics we know. It simply expands and consumes." Kelrus, a being made of pure energy, flickered brightly. "My military forces attempted to destroy it with our most powerful weapons. We might as well have thrown rocks at a black hole. It absorbed everything and grew larger." The council chamber filled with worried voices. Representatives argued and debated. Some suggested evacuation plans. Others wanted to build massive shields around entire sectors. A few even mentioned abandoning huge parts of the galaxy to save what they could. In the back row, two humans sat quietly. Daewon wore a simple blue uniform. He leaned back in his chair, watching the chaos with calm eyes. Next to him, Hana typed notes on a small tablet while eating dried seaweed snacks from a plastic bag. They had only been part of the Galactic Assembly for 2 years. Humanity was still considered very new to galactic politics. Tovan raised his clawed hand for silence. "We must face reality. The greatest minds in the galaxy have worked on this problem for 50 years. We have spent resources equal to building 1,000 colonies. The conclusion is clear: we cannot solve this. We must begin evacuation procedures and accept our losses." The hall erupted in desperate voices again. Some representatives began to cry. Others shouted in frustration. The weight of failure pressed down on everyone. Daewon raised his hand. Nobody noticed at first. He raised it higher and cleared his throat. "Excuse me," he said in a normal speaking voice. Still nobody heard him over the noise. He stood up and waved both hands. "Hey, sorry to interrupt." The hall slowly went quiet. Hundreds of alien eyes turned to look at the human. Tavan's face showed confusion and slight annoyance. "Ambassador Daewon, this is not the time for now. Can we take a look at this?" Daewon asked. He gestured toward the hologram of the rift. "Like at your data and research? We might be able to help." The silence in the hall became uncomfortable. Several representatives made sounds that seemed like laughing or scoffing. Mira's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of disbelief. "Ambassador," Tovan said slowly, as if talking to a child, "I mean no disrespect to your species, but this problem has defeated the greatest scientific minds in the galaxy. Civilizations with millions of years of advancement have failed. Earth has only had space travel for less than 2 centuries. What makes you think? Well, we won't know unless we look, right?" Hana said, standing up next to Daewon. She held up her tablet. "Can you send us the files? All the research, test results, everything you tried?" A Varelian representative with tentacles waving angrily spoke up. "This is insulting. We are discussing the survival of the galaxy, and these newcomers think they can solve what we cannot?" Daewon shrugged. "Maybe we can't, but it doesn't hurt to have another set of eyes on it, does it? We're here anyway. Let us spend a night looking at your research. If we can't help, you've lost nothing but a few hours." Kelrus flickered thoughtfully. "The human makes a fair point. What harm could it do?" Tovan looked around the hall. Many representatives showed skepticism on their faces. Some showed outright hostility, but a few seemed curious. Finally, Tovan sighed deeply. "Very well. I will have all research data transferred to your quarters, but I ask that you understand the seriousness of this situation. This is not a simple problem." "We understand," Daewon said with a small smile. "We'll be respectful of your work. Thanks for the chance." As the council session ended, representatives filed out of the hall. Many glanced at the two humans with expressions ranging from pity to contempt. One elderly Krithian diplomat paused near Daewon. "Young species," he said in a wheezing voice. Ambition is admirable, but some things are simply beyond reach. Do not feel shame when you realize this truth. Day One nodded politely. We'll keep that in mind, sir. Back in their assigned quarters on the central hub station, Hana spread holographic displays across every wall. Data streamed past in multiple languages. Charts showed failed experiments. Models demonstrated collapse theories. 50 years of research from thousands of the galaxy's smartest scientists filled the room. Day One brought over 2 cups of coffee and a large pizza box. Okay, where do we start? At the beginning, Hana said, already deep into the data. Let's see what assumptions they made first. They worked through the night. Day One asked questions while Hana pulled up files. They made notes on old-fashioned paper with pens, something that amused them since the rest of the galaxy used purely digital methods. The pizza disappeared slice by slice. Coffee cups piled up. Look at this, Hana said around hour 4. She highlighted a section of research. They've been treating the rift as an advanced phenomenon. Quantum-level, multidimensional, requiring complex solutions. But what if it's not? Day One asked, reading over her shoulder. Exactly what I'm thinking. They worked faster now, following a new trail of thought. Hana ran simulations on her tablet. Day One cross-referenced different approaches that had been tried. As the station's artificial morning arrived, they both leaned back in their chairs. This could actually work, Hana said quietly. It's so simple, though, Day One replied. They must have thought of this. Did they? Look, every approach they tried assumed the rift was something new and complex. What if everyone was overthinking it? Day One grinned. Want to go tell them? After breakfast. I'm starving. Later that morning, Day One and Hana walked back into the council chamber. The emergency session had reconvened. Tovan sat at the center, looking even more tired than before. When he saw the humans enter, his face showed surprise. Ambassador Day One, Scientist Hana, I did not expect to see you so soon. I assumed you would need weeks to even understand our research. We read through it, Day One said cheerfully. All of it. Really thorough work, by the way. Must have taken a lot of effort, Mira leaned forward. And, do you now understand why this problem has no solution? Hana smiled. Actually, we think we found one. The chamber went dead silent. Then dozens of voices erupted at once. Tovan had to call for order 3 times before everyone quieted down. That is quite a claim, Tovan said carefully. Perhaps you would like to share your theory? Day One walked to the center platform. Sure, but first, can I just say, relax, we've got this. The phrase hung in the air. Several representatives made sounds of outrage. One actually stood up and left the chamber in disgust. Hana activated her tablet and projected a simple diagram. The rift isn't what you think it is. You've all been treating it like it's some new form of physics. It's not. It's actually a basic dimensional tear. Think of it like a rip in fabric. Fabric, Mira said, her voice sharp. You compare a galaxy-threatening anomaly to fabric? It's just an analogy, Hana continued calmly. The point is, you don't need complex quantum devices to fix a rip. You need to work with its natural properties. We think we can stabilize the edges, then essentially pull it closed. The council chamber erupted again. This time the voices were angry. Representative after representative stood to object. The humans were called naive, arrogant, ignorant. One scientist accused them of wasting everyone's time with primitive thinking. Tovan finally restored order. His face showed conflict. These are serious accusations you make, that we have all approached this wrong. Can you prove your theory? Give us a month and some resources, Day One said. We'll build a prototype and test it. And if you fail? Kelris asked. Then we fail, Day One said with a shrug. But at least we tried something different. Tovan looked around the chamber. He saw anger, skepticism, but also curiosity on some faces. Finally, he spoke. Very well. You will have 1 month. We will provide a research station near the rift and basic resources. But understand, if you fail, humanity's reputation in this council may suffer. Day One smiled. If we fail, our reputation is the least of everyone's problems, right? As the session ended, Hana and Day One walked out together. Behind them, the council chamber buzzed with heated debates. In one corner, Mira spoke quietly to Kelris. They cannot possibly succeed, Mira said. Kelris flickered. Perhaps. But I am curious to see them try. The research station floated in dark space, close enough to the rift to study it but far enough to stay safe. The station was old and had been abandoned for years. Most of the alien scientists thought it was too dangerous to work this close to the anomaly, but it was perfect for what the humans needed. A small transport ship docked at the station. Daewon stepped out first, carrying 2 large boxes. Behind him came Hana with her equipment bags. Then 2 more humans emerged. Jiwon was a robotics engineer with kind eyes and quick hands. Yuna was a materials scientist who always wore a tool belt around her waist. Waiting for them at the dock was the oversight team. Mira stood at the front, her insectoid body rigid with official authority. Kelrus flickered beside her in his energy form. 3 other alien scientists and 2 military observers stood behind them. "Welcome to Research Station Outpost 77, Mira said formally. "We are here to observe and document your attempt. All procedures must be logged and approved before—" "Great, Daewon said, walking past her toward the main corridor. "Where's the lab space?" Mira's mandibles clicked in frustration. She hurried after him. "Ambassador, there are protocols, safety briefings, equipment inventories to review. We can do that while we set up," Hana called back. She was already studying a station map on her tablet. "Lab 3 looks good. It has the right power connections." The oversight team followed the humans through the station's corridors. Kelrus noticed that the humans carried surprisingly little equipment. His species had conducted research for thousands of years. Proper scientific investigation required massive amounts of specialized tools. Yet these humans had only a few boxes and bags. "Where's the rest of your equipment?" Kelrus asked. Jiwon patted one of his boxes. "This is it. We packed light." "Light?" Mira repeated. "But the quantum analysis alone requires—" "We're not doing quantum analysis the way you do," Yuna interrupted gently. "Different approach, remember?" They reached Lab 3. The room was large and empty except for basic power outlets and a few old work tables. Mira expected the humans to complain about the poor conditions. Instead, they seemed happy. "Perfect," Daewon said, setting down his boxes. "Lots of space to work." The humans began unpacking. The oversight team watched in growing confusion. Out came personal computers, small and simple by galactic standards. A coffee maker. Portable toolkits. What looked like children's building blocks. Notebooks and pens. A small radio that Jiwon turned on, filling the lab with human music. "This is your scientific equipment?" one of the alien scientists asked, unable to hide his disbelief. "Most of it," Hana said, setting up her computer. "We'll build what else we need." "Build it?" Mira's voice rose higher. "From what?" "Station has a fabricator, right?" Yuna asked. "And a parts storage?" "Yes, but those are for basic repairs and—" "Then we're good," Yuna said with a smile. She pulled out a tablet and started drawing designs. Over the next few days, the oversight team observed the humans with growing bewilderment. The humans did not follow any recognizable scientific procedure. They did not hold formal meetings. They did not create detailed experimental protocols. Instead, they worked in a way that seemed completely chaotic. Hana would suddenly shout an idea while eating breakfast. Daewon would scribble notes on paper napkins. Jiwon built small robots from spare parts while humming along to music. Yuna conducted material tests while drinking coffee and chatting about her family back on Earth. "This is not science," one alien observer wrote in his report. "This is disorder pretending to be research." But despite the chaos, things were happening. Jiwon's small robots began mapping the rift's energy patterns in ways the alien sensors had never attempted. Yuna created new composite materials using simple elements that most civilizations ignored as too primitive. Hana ran simulations that deliberately broke the rules of conventional physics. On day 5, Mira confronted Daewon in the lab. "I must file my report to the council. How do I explain what you are doing? There is no structure, no methodology. You eat meals while conducting experiments. You play music during calculations. Yesterday, Jiwon was juggling tools while waiting for a simulation to complete." Daewon looked up from his work and smiled. "We're testing theories and building solutions. The music helps us think. The food keeps our energy up. And Jiwon juggles when he's processing ideas. Does it matter how we do it if it works? But this is not how advanced civilizations conduct research." "Maybe that's the problem," Hana said from across the room. She did not look up from her computer. "You're all so focused on doing things the proper way that you stopped trying improper ways." Kelrus, who had been quietly observing, flickered brightly. "That is an interesting perspective." By the end of week 2, the humans had built something. It sat on a work table in the center of the lab, a device about the size of a large box. It looked crude compared to alien technology. Exposed wiring, simple metal casing, a control panel with actual physical buttons instead of holographic interfaces. "This is your solution?" Mira asked, staring at it. "This box? It's a prototype," Yuna said proudly. She had built most of it herself. "We're calling it a rift stabilizer. It does not look stable." "Looks aren't everything," Jawan said. He was making adjustments to the internal components. "What matters is if it works." "And does it work?" asked one of the military observers, speaking for the first time in days. "We're about to find out," Daewon said. He carried the device over to a sealed testing chamber. "Hana, you ready?" Hana nodded from her computer station. "Ready. Initiating micro-rift generation in 3, 2, 1. Inside the testing chamber, space itself seemed to tear. A tiny black line appeared, no bigger than a finger. It pulsed and grew slowly. Energy readings spiked on all the monitors. The alien observers tensed. They had seen rifts before. Even small ones were dangerous. "It's forming correctly," Hana reported. "Size is increasing as predicted." "Starting the stabilizer," Yuna said. She pressed several buttons on the crude device. Nothing seemed to happen for several seconds. Then the small rift in the chamber stopped growing. The black line froze in place. More seconds passed. The rift began to shrink, smaller and smaller until it finally disappeared completely. The lab went silent. Every alien in the room stared at the empty testing chamber. "Did that just—" Kelris started to say. "We created a rift," Hana said calmly. "We stabilized it. We studied it. Then we closed it." Mira's legs nearly gave out. She had to grip the work table for support. "That is impossible. We have tried for 50 years to even stabilize one. You did it in less than 3 weeks." "The trick was stopping trying to overpower it," Daewon explained. He pulled up Hana's simulation on a main screen. "You are all trying to contain the rift with force, like trying to stop a river with a wall. We're working with its natural flow instead. Think of it like redirecting water instead of blocking it." "But the mathematics," one alien scientist said weakly. "The quantum equations." "We ignored most of that," Hana admitted. "Too complicated. We went back to basic physics, basic properties of dimensional tiers. Sometimes the simple answer is the right answer." She pulled up a drawing, literally a child's drawing with crayons on paper that she had scanned into her computer. It showed a simple rip and how to close it. The alien scientist stared at it in shock. "You solved a galaxy-threatening crisis with a crayon drawing?" Mira asked. "The drawing helped us visualize it," Hana said. "Sometimes you need to strip away all the complex thinking and see the basic problem." Over the next week, the humans repeated their test 15 more times. Different sized rifts, different energy levels. Every single time the stabilizer worked. The alien oversight team watched in stunned silence. Their reports to the council became more and more unbelievable. On day 23, Daewon called a meeting. All the humans and aliens gathered in the lab. "We're ready for a field test," Daewon announced. "We want permission to try this on the actual rift." The alien observers looked at each other nervously. Kelris spoke first. "That is a significant escalation. The real rift is millions of times larger than your test versions." "True," Yuna said, "but the principle is the same. We've scaled up our designs. We just need to build a bigger stabilizer." "Multiple stabilizers, actually," Jiwan added. He projected a hologram showing the rift with 12 points marked around it. "We place them at key points around the edge. Activate them together. The rift should stabilize and then close." "Should?" Mira repeated. "Well, we can't be 100% sure until we try," Hana said honestly. "But our simulations show 97% success probability." "And the 3%? asked a military observer. "If it fails, we adjust and try again," Daewon said with a shrug. "That's how testing works." Mira worked her mandibles nervously. This was beyond her authority to approve. "I must contact the council. This decision requires—" "We know," Daewon interrupted kindly. "Take your time. We'll keep preparing. Building the full-size stabilizers will take about a week anyway." That night, Mira sat alone in her quarters writing her report to the council. She had lived for 60 years and had been a scientist for 40 of them. She had been taught that proper research took time, followed protocols, and built on established knowledge. Everything the humans did violated those principles. Space around the rift was crowded with ships. 30 massive alien vessels held position at what their calculations said was a safe distance. Military cruisers, science vessels, and rescue ships all waited in formation. Their crews watched the massive black tear that split space itself. The rift stretched across millions of kilometers, a wound in reality that had defeated every attempt to heal it. Near the front of the fleet sat one small human ship. The Resilient looked tiny compared to the alien vessels. It was a modified research craft, nothing special by galactic standards, but today every camera and sensor in the fleet pointed at it. Inside the Resilient, 5 humans made final preparations. Daewon checked readouts at the command station. Hana reviewed her calculations one more time. Jiwon inspected the 12 stabilizer devices they had built, each one secured in the cargo bay. Yuna ran diagnostics on the deployment systems. And at the pilot's seat sat Sunho, a young man with quick reflexes and a calm smile. Fleet command to Resilient. A voice crackled over the communications. It was Kelris commanding the military vessels. You are cleared to begin your approach. All rescue teams are standing by. Thanks, Kelris, Daewon replied. We appreciate the safety net, but we won't need it. Your confidence is noted. Please be careful anyway. Sunho's fingers moved across the controls. The Resilient moved forward, leaving the safety of the fleet behind. Through the front window, the rift grew larger. It looked like someone had cut reality with a knife. Darkness poured out of it, and the space around it bent in strange ways. Everyone ready? Daewon asked his team. Ready, they all replied. Then let's go fix a hole in space. Back with the fleet, hundreds of aliens watched their screens. In the council hall on the central hub station, the entire assembly had gathered to watch a live feed. Across the galaxy, billions tuned in to see if the newest species could accomplish the impossible. Most expected to witness a failure. Some hoped to see a miracle. Tovan sat in the assembly hall, his claws gripping his seat. Mira stood beside him, her many eyes fixed on the screen. Neither of them spoke. The Resilient reached the first deployment point. The ship slowed to a stop about 1,000 kilometers from the rift's edge. This close, the anomaly dominated the view. Energy waves pulsed from it. Reality itself seemed unstable. Deployment point 1, Hana announced. Releasing first stabilizer. The cargo bay opened. A device the size of a small car floated out into space. It looked rough and unpolished. Human engineering at its most practical. Mechanical arms extended from it, locking it into position. Lights blinked on across its surface. Stabilizer 1 is active and holding position, Jiwon reported. All readings normal. Sunho moved the Resilient to the next position. He flew smoothly, his movements precise despite the dangerous conditions. He had been a racing pilot before joining this mission. He was used to speed and risk. You know, Sunho said casually. I've flown through asteroid fields and solar storms, but this is definitely the weirdest thing I've ever done. Just wait, Yuna said with a grin. It gets weirder. They deployed the second stabilizer, then the third. Each time the device locked into place and activated without problems. The process was going smoothly. Maybe too smoothly. At deployment point 4, things changed. Releasing stabilizer 4, Hana said. The device floated out and extended its arms, but as it locked into position, the rift suddenly pulsed. A wave of dark energy rolled outward. It hit stabilizer 4 directly. Alarms blared throughout the Resilient. The ship shook violently. Energy surge, Hana shouted over the noise. The rift is reacting to the devices. Is this bad? Sunho asked, fighting to keep the ship stable. It's unexpected, Daewon said, his hands flying across his console. The rift is trying to push back against the stabilizers. On the fleet's command ships, panic erupted. Resilient, you need to abort, Kelris ordered. Retreat to safe distance immediately. Hold on, Daewon said calmly. He studied his readings. We're okay. The stabilizers are holding. The rift is just adjusting to them. Adjusting? Mira's voice came through on a science channel. That implies intelligence. The rift is not supposed to be sentient. Maybe not sentient, Hana said, her eyes scanning data. But it's definitely reactive. Like an immune system responding to foreign objects. Another energy wave hit them. The Resilience shields flickered. Warning lights turned red. Daewon, Sunho said, his voice steady despite the danger. I can get us out of here in 3 seconds if you want. Daewon looked at his team. Hana was already adjusting her calculations. Jiwon had pulled up the stabilizer schematics. Yuna was running new simulations. Nobody looked scared. They looked focused. No retreat, Daewon decided.
We adjust, Hana.
On it, she replied. Her fingers danced across her keyboard. I can modify the stabilizer's frequencies. Instead of fighting the rift's energy, we match it. Work with it instead of against it. How long? 2 minutes to reprogram. Then we need to update all deployed stabilizers. Do it. Across the galaxy, people watched in silence. The Resilient sat in space being battered by energy waves while the humans worked. 2 minutes felt like hours. Reprogramming complete, Hana finally announced. Uploading to stabilizers 1 through 4 now. The deployed devices flickered as their programming updated. For a moment, nothing happened. Then slowly, the energy waves from the rift became less violent. The stabilizers were synchronizing with the anomaly instead of opposing it. It's working, Jiwon said with relief. The rift is accepting them, see? Daewon said over the fleet channel. We're good. Just had to recalibrate. In the assembly hall, several representatives collapsed in their seats. Tovan realized he had been holding his breath. Mira's mandibles clicked rapidly. The Resilient moved to deployment point 5, then 6, then 7. Each time they released a stabilizer without major incident. The modifications Hana made had solved the problem. But at point 8, a new crisis emerged. Stabilizer 8 has a malfunction, Jiwon announced, his voice tight. The power core is overloading. If it explodes, it could trigger a chain reaction with the other stabilizers. Can you shut it down remotely? Daewon asked. Negative. The malfunction is blocking remote commands. How long until it explodes? 8 minutes. Maybe less. Everyone in the Resilient went quiet. The math was simple. It would take 6 minutes to retreat to the fleet. But if the stabilizer exploded, all their work would fail. The rift would remain, and they might never get another chance. I'll go fix it, Jiwon said, already standing up. What? Yuna turned to him. It's outside the ship in space. Next to the rift. I know. Jiwon was already heading to the airlock. I designed these stabilizers. I know how to fix them. I just need to manually reset the core. That's insane, Sunho said. Probably, Jiwon agreed. But it's also necessary. Daewon made a decision. Do it, but you have 6 minutes, no more. Then we pull you back whether it's fixed or not. Jiwon suited up in record time. The airlock opened and he jumped out into space. He activated his suit's thrusters and flew toward Stabilizer 8. Behind him, the Resilient held position. Around him, space bent and twisted from the rift's influence. Every camera in the fleet tracked him. In the assembly hall, representatives watched in stunned silence as a single human flew directly toward a malfunctioning device next to reality's biggest wound. Jiwon reached the stabilizer and grabbed onto it. He pulled open an access panel. Inside, he could see the problem. A power coupling had fused wrong. Simple to fix if you had tools and time. He had tools. He did not have much time. 4 minutes, Hana's voice said in his helmet. Jiwon worked carefully but quickly. His hands were steady. He had fixed thousands of machines in his life. This was just another repair job. A repair job in space, next to a cosmic anomaly, with an explosion timer counting down. This is just like working on my car, he muttered to himself. Except the car might kill everyone. 3 minutes, Hana updated. The rift pulsed again. Energy washed over Jiwon. His suit's radiation alarms screamed. He ignored them and kept working. Back on the Resilient, his teammates watched. Yuna gripped her seat. Sunho had his hand on the thruster controls, ready to fly in for a rescue. Daewon and Hana monitored Jiwon's vital signs and the stabilizer's countdown. 2 minutes. Jiwon pulled out the fused coupling and replaced it with a spare from his toolkit. He closed the panel and activated the reset sequence. The stabilizer's lights flickered. 1 minute, the reset was taking too long. Jiwon could hear his own heartbeat in his helmet. The stabilizer's lights continued to flicker. Come on, he thought. 30 seconds. Jiwon, you need to get clear now, Daewon ordered. Almost there, Jiwon replied. Jiwon, the stabilizer's lights turned solid green. The malfunction warning disappeared. The power core stabilized. Got it, Jiwon shouted. He pushed off from the device and activated his thrusters. He flew back toward the Resilient as fast as his suit could go. Sunho met him halfway, grabbing Jiwon with the ship's external arm and pulling him to the airlock. 5 seconds later, Jiwon was inside, breathing hard and grinning. That was fun, he said, taking off his helmet. Let's not do it again, though. The fleet erupted in celebration. Kelris broadcast congratulations. Military crews cheered. Even Tovan allowed himself a small smile in the assembly hall. But the work was not done yet. 4 more to go, Daewon reminded everyone. 3 months passed. The rift closed completely, disappearing as if it had never existed. The galaxy celebrated for weeks. Every news channel showed images of the 5 humans who had saved countless worlds. Their names became known across hundreds of civilizations. Children were taught about them in schools. Songs were written. Statues were commissioned. Daewon found the attention uncomfortable. He preferred working to being famous. But fame had found him anyway. The requests started immediately. Dozens, then hundreds, then thousands of messages arrived at the human diplomatic offices. Civilizations that had considered humanity too young and primitive now begged for their help. Every species had problems they could not solve. Problems that had stumped their best minds for years or decades or centuries, and everyone wanted the humans to look at them. This is getting overwhelming, Hana said, scrolling through message after message on her tablet. She sat in the new human offices at the central hub station. The space was bigger now. The council had insisted on giving them better accommodations. Look at this one. The Tertian system has an energy crisis. They want us to solve it. What about this? Yuna pointed to another message. The crystalline collective cannot communicate with a newly discovered sentient species. 20 years of trying. They want our help. Jiwan read from his own screen. Station Gamma 7 is having structural failures in a high-gravity zone. They are considering abandoning it, but it cost them 50 years to build. Daewon leaned back in his chair. Sunho was off teaching piloting techniques to alien flight schools, but the other 4 sat together trying to organize the requests. We cannot do everything, Daewon said. There are only a few of us. But we should try to help where we can, Hana replied. That is what we do, right? Then let's start with the ones we think we can solve quickly, Yuna suggested. Build some goodwill. Show that the rift was not just luck. They picked 3 problems to start with. 3 impossible challenges that stumped alien civilizations. 3 chances to prove themselves again. The first problem was the Tertian energy crisis. The Tertian homeworld was rich with minerals but poor in traditional energy sources. For decades, they had relied on expensive imported fuel. Their scientists had spent years designing a massive fusion array that would solve the problem. But the array would take 10 years to build and cost more than most planets made in a century. Yuna visited the Tertian system with Hana. They studied the planet for 3 days. On the 4th day, they called a meeting with the Tertian leadership. Your planet has incredible volcanic activity, Yuna explained, showing scans on a hologram. Geothermal energy. It is everywhere under your surface. You are sitting on more power than you could use in 1,000 years. The Tertian chief scientist, an elderly being named Korthan, shook his head. We know about geothermal energy. It is primitive, unstable, not suitable for a civilization of our advancement. Is it? Hana challenged. Or have you dismissed it because it seems too simple? They spent 2 weeks teaching the Tertians how to properly harness geothermal power. They showed them efficient drilling techniques, modern conversion systems, distribution networks, methods that worked on Earth and would work here. 6 months later, the first geothermal plant came online. It powered half the planet's largest city. The Tertians built more. Within a year, they were energy independent. Their economy boomed. Children in schools learned that sometimes old solutions work better than new ones. Korthan personally thanked Yuna. We were so focused on having the most advanced solution that we ignored the best solution. You have taught us humility. The second problem was the crystalline collective. They had discovered a species of sentient crystals living in a cave system on a distant moon. The crystals clearly had intelligence. They responded to presence. They moved. They seemed to communicate with each other. But every attempt to establish communication failed. The collective had tried mathematics, universal symbols, light patterns, sound waves, chemical signals. Nothing worked. After 20 years, they were ready to give up. Hana arrived alone. She studied the crystals for 2 days. She noticed that they pulsed and vibrated in complex patterns. On the 3rd day, she brought music. She played simple melodies on a small keyboard she had brought from Earth. The crystals responded immediately. They began pulsing in rhythm. Hana played different notes. The crystals changed their patterns. She played major chords. The crystals pulsed brightly. She played minor chords. The crystals dimmed. They do not communicate with language, Hana explained to the shocked collective researchers. They communicate through vibration and harmony, through music. They are musicians, not speakers. She spent 3 weeks developing a translation system, human music to crystal vibrations, crystal patterns to human understanding. By the end, they were having basic conversations. The crystals were sharing information about their world, their history, their way of seeing the universe. The lead collective researcher was a being named Tess. She had spent 15 years trying to crack this problem. "How did you think of music?" Tess asked Hana. "On Earth we know that whales communicate through songs," Hana replied. "Elephants use vibrations. Even humans process emotions through music in ways words cannot capture. I just wondered if maybe these crystals were similar. Sometimes the answer is not in the complexity but in trying different simple approaches until one works." The 3rd problem was Station Gamma 7. The station orbited a planet with 3 times Earth's gravity. The gravitational stress caused structural failures throughout the station. Support beams cracked, joints separated, systems failed. Alien engineers said the station was doomed. The rigid metal structures could not handle the constant stress. G1 visited the station with a small team. He walked through the damaged corridors, studying how the structure bent and broke. The alien engineering team followed him, explaining all their failed solutions. "You are fighting the gravity," G1 finally said, "trying to make the structure so rigid that it will not bend. But that makes it break." "What else can we do?" the chief engineer asked. "Let it bend," G1 replied. "On Earth we have buildings in earthquake zones. They sway and flex during earthquakes. That flexibility keeps them from breaking. We also have a plant called bamboo. It bends in strong winds but rarely breaks. Flexibility is strength." He designed a new support system for the station. Instead of rigid beams, he used flexible joints and materials that could move with the gravitational stress. Instead of fighting the pressure, the structure would adapt to it. He brought in materials similar to bamboo's cellular structure, strong but flexible. The station's crew was skeptical. Flexibility seemed weak. But they were desperate, so they let G1 try his approach. 6 months later, Station Gamma 7 was fully functional. The flexible support system handled the gravitational stress better than the rigid one ever had. The station would survive for decades now, possibly centuries. The chief engineer shook G1's hand. "We thought strength meant being immovable. You taught us that true strength means knowing when to bend." News of these 3 successes spread quickly. The pattern was becoming clear. Humans had a gift for finding simple solutions to complex problems. They questioned assumptions. They tried approaches that seemed too obvious or too primitive, and somehow it worked. But not everyone was happy. In the council hall, a faction of traditionalists grew angry. They were led by a representative named Fornis, a being from a civilization that prided itself on technological superiority. Fornis had lived for 200 years and did not appreciate being shown up by a species barely out of their own solar system. "The humans make us look like fools," Fornis said to a gathering of like-minded representatives. "Every problem they solve is a reminder that we failed. Our people are starting to question our competence." "Are we not glad the problems are solved?" asked another representative. "Of course," Fornis replied carefully. "But there must be limits. We cannot have humans questioning every aspect of galactic civilization. They must be kept in their proper place." A motion was proposed. Humans would be limited in what problems they could work on. They would need permission from a review board. Their methods would require approval. Essentially, they would be controlled. Tavan heard about the motion. He called Day Wan to his office. There's a political situation developing, Tovan explained. He looked tired. Some council members feel threatened by your success. They are proposing restrictions. Daewon nodded slowly. I was wondering when this would happen. We have been making a lot of powerful people look bad. I will oppose the restrictions, Tovan said firmly. But I wanted you to know. Politics can be complicated. We understand. We will not make trouble. We are just trying to help. I know. And that is exactly why you have more friends on the council than enemies. But be careful anyway. That evening, the human team gathered in their offices. Daewon told them about the political situation. They sat quietly, thinking. Maybe we should slow down, Yuna suggested. Give the galaxy time to adjust to us. Or maybe we keep doing what we are doing, Hana countered. The galaxy needs help. Should we stop helping because it makes some politicians uncomfortable? Before they could decide, an emergency alert flashed across all their screens. Red priority. Galaxy-wide broadcast. Daewon opened the message. The war room in the central hub station felt like a tomb. Holographic displays covered every wall, showing one disaster after another. The Marauders, as the hostile force called themselves, had attacked 15 colonies in the past month. Every single battle ended in defeat for the galactic forces. Ships destroyed, colonies occupied, lives lost by the millions. Daewon and Hana stood at the main display table watching battle recordings. Around them, the galaxy's top military commanders waited in uncomfortable silence. They had never asked civilians for tactical help before, but desperation changed old rules. Kelrus materialized next to them, his energy form flickering with stress. We have lost 3 more engagements since this morning, he said quietly. 17 ships destroyed, 4,000 casualties. The Marauders' technology adapts too quickly. Their artificial intelligence predicts every tactic we use. Show us the battle recordings again, Hana requested, all of them. For 2 hours the humans watched. They took notes. They asked questions. Sometimes they rewound sections and watched them again. The military commanders grew impatient but said nothing. These humans had saved the galaxy once. Maybe they could do it again. Finally, Daewon straightened up. I think we see the problem. Enlighten us, said a Krillian admiral named Horvath. His tone suggested he did not believe humans could understand military strategy. Your tactics are too good, Hana said simply. The room went silent. Several commanders looked confused. Horvath's face darkened with anger. Too good? Kelrus asked carefully. You fight perfectly, Daewon explained. He pulled up a battle recording. Look, textbook formation, ideal weapon deployment, optimal fleet positioning. Every move follows proven military doctrine. It is brilliant strategy. Then how is that a problem? Horvath demanded. Because it is predictable, Hana said. The Marauders' AI learns from every battle. It studies your tactics. Every time you do something logical and strategic, their AI adapts and counters. You are fighting exactly how an advanced civilization should fight, and that is why you keep losing. What would you have us do? Another commander asked. Fight poorly. Fight weird, Daewon replied with a small smile. Be unpredictable. Do things that make no tactical sense. Confuse their AI with chaos. The room erupted in protests. Military commanders shouted about centuries of proven strategy, about the importance of discipline and planning, about how battles were won through superior tactics, not random chaos. Horvath stepped forward, his voice sharp. You are suggesting we abandon everything we know about warfare? Throw away thousands of years of military knowledge? Not abandon, Hana said calmly. Supplement. Use your knowledge to set the foundation. Then break all the rules to win. A new voice joined the conversation. Tajin walked into the war room. He was a human military consultant who had been studying galactic fleet operations for the past year. His background was in special operations and strategic planning. He moved with quiet confidence. Sorry I am late, Tajin said, nodding to Daewon. I was reviewing the most recent battle data. He turned to face the alien commanders. My colleagues are correct. Your AI opponent is too reactive. It does not create strategies. It responds to them. Every time you make a move, it finds the perfect counter. But what if there is no perfect counter because there is no logical move? You want us to be illogical in battle? Horvath said, his voice dripping with disdain. I want you to be human, Tejan replied. On Earth, our greatest military victories often came from doing the unexpected. Attacking from directions thought impossible, using tactics that seemed insane, being creative instead of correct. Kelrus flickered thoughtfully. Can you give an example? Sure, Daewon said. He pulled up a tactical display. In your last battle, you formed a standard attack formation. Beautiful formation. Perfect spacing. The Marauders' AI calculated your attack vectors and positioned their shields accordingly. You did everything right and you lost. What would you have done? Kelrus asked. Formed the attack formation, Daewon said, then broken it randomly. Had ships peel off in weird directions for no reason. Attacked from angles that made no sense. Retreated when we should advance. Advanced when we should retreat. Made the AI think we were crazy or malfunctioning. That would create chaos in our own forces, Horvath objected. Yes, Tejan agreed. Controlled chaos. The kind of chaos humans are good at managing. You adapt on the fly. You improvise. You trust your crews to think independently instead of following rigid orders. This goes against every principle of military. Coordination, another commander said. Maybe those principles need an update, Hana suggested gently. The Marauders are beating you precisely because you follow those principles perfectly. Kelrus turned to Tovan, who had been listening silently from the side of the room. Council leader, your thoughts? Tovan was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke. 3 months ago, these humans solved a problem that defeated us for 50 years. They did it by ignoring our approaches and trying something we thought was too simple. I opposed giving them that chance. I was wrong. He looked at the commanders. Perhaps we should trust them again. Horvath crossed his arms. And if their chaos gets more people killed? More than the thousands dying now? Kelrus asked softly. That ended the argument. Reluctantly, the military commanders agreed to try the human approach. But only for one battle. One chance to prove the concept. Preparations began immediately. A combined fleet of 200 ships would engage the Marauders at a contested colony world. The alien ships would form the main force. 15 human vessels, small and fast, would integrate throughout the fleet. Sunho returned from his teaching assignment to lead the human fighter squadron. G1 helped outfit human ships with quick-deploy decoy systems. Yuna worked with alien engineers to modify hull structures for a special surprise. Taijin would coordinate overall human tactics from a command ship. Daewon and Hana stayed in the war room to provide real-time strategic input. The day of battle arrived. The combined fleet jumped into the contested system. Ahead of them waited 80 Marauder vessels in perfect formation. Their black ships looked deadly and efficient. All ships standard opening formation, Kelrus commanded from his flagship. The fleet moved into position. The Marauders immediately adjusted, their AI calculating optimal counterpositions. Everything happened exactly as it had in previous battles. Prepare for engagement, Kelrus announced. Wait for it, Daewon said quietly over the command channel. The two fleets drifted closer, weapons charged, shields powered up. The moment of engagement approached. Now, Daewon said calmly. Everyone relax. Time to get weird. Sunho's fighter squadron suddenly broke formation. Instead of the standard attack pattern, the 15 fighters scattered in different directions. They flew in spirals and loops. They dove and climbed with no apparent purpose. To the Marauder AI, it looked like mechanical failure or complete incompetence, but every move was deliberate. The random patterns prevented the AI from predicting trajectories. Sunho's pilots attacked from impossible angles. They struck, retreated, then struck again from a completely different direction. The Marauders' shields, calibrated for logical attack vectors, kept getting hit from unexpected angles. Deploying decoys, G1 announced from his ship. Dozens of small objects launched from human vessels. They looked like debris or escape pods. The Marauder AI ignored them as non-threats. That was a mistake. The decoys suddenly activated, broadcasting false signatures that mimicked battleships. The AI's targeting systems went haywire trying to prioritize threats. Yuna's modification came next. Several human ships appeared to take damage. Their hulls cracked and split. They looked critically wounded. The Marauder AI shifted focus to finish them off. Then the damaged hulls exploded outward, revealing they were deliberately designed breakaway sections. Underneath were weapons that fired at point-blank range into surprised Marauder ships. What was that? Horvath asked from his ship, watching in disbelief. We called them trap hulls, Yuna replied cheerfully. They look broken but are really traps. Simple trick. Tajin coordinated the broader strategy. He ordered feints within feints. Ships would move to attack, then suddenly retreat for no reason. Others would advance when they should pull back. Groups would split up when they should concentrate, then concentrate when they should split. There was no pattern, no logic, just constant deliberate chaos. The Marauder AI began to malfunction. It was designed to find patterns and exploit them. But there were no patterns. It tried to predict human movements, but every prediction was wrong. It attempted to adapt, but there was nothing consistent to adapt to. The alien commanders watched in amazement as the tide of battle shifted. For the first time in months, they were winning. All ships follow the human lead, Kelrus commanded. Stop thinking. Just act. The alien vessels, trained for perfect coordination, struggled at first. But slowly they adapted. They began making mistakes on purpose. They stopped following doctrine and started improvising. The whole fleet transformed into beautiful, functional chaos. A Tertian cruiser captain broke formation and attacked from below, when doctrine said to attack from above. It worked. A crystalline collective science vessel used its mining lasers as weapons in a way no military manual would approve. It destroyed 2 Marauder ships.